I want to say a couple things. First, if you like what you experience here, you may want to consider joining us for either of the 2 following retreats, or both of them. One of them is a Lightworker boot camp. It's right here in Palm Beach, or right in Palm Beach. It's really a little farther north of here. Not really Palm Beach County. But this is a 5-day retreat where we'll be doing this kind of work, but much more deep. So it's like if you really want to up-level and anchor into 5D, and you want to be able to have this kind of supportive environment, do the inner clearing, which again, if you're new to me, you'll experience it more tonight. This is a great retreat. So you can grab a flyer. They're outside, and there's some over there. And it's coming up in March. If you are serious about it, I will give you a $400 coupon savings if you take action tonight, or certainly by this weekend. So let me know.
Where is it located?
It's actually in Hobe Sound.
Oh.
But we're going to be doing crystal bowls as well, and so there's a little bit of movement. You know, we're going to do. I'd like to do a cacao ceremony. I'm working on that. So, but it's mostly really in-depth clearing and healing. And also there'll be a lot of coaching and guidance on tuning into your gifts and using certain tools, because I think one of the big challenges here, there's one thing to sort of shift from here to here. There's a whole other thing to have a toolkit to understand how to do things, how to create in the new reality, how to, navigate reality, how to work with energy. Like that's all the energetic toolkit of being a 5th dimensional being. Make sense? That over here, some of it's, like a lot of the tools that we've used in the past are just no longer valid. If you understand what I mean by tools, I'm not sure. I'll give you one example. Who in here likes tarot cards? Anyone? Yeah, I like tarot cards too. But you don't want to use them anymore. Like, not to dissuade you from them. When I say that, that sounds very dissuading, because of course you can do anything you want. But over here, the tarot card decks have all been manipulated. So they've removed, first of all, they've removed the science card, and they've removed the, what's the other one? Science and, is it wisdom or philosophy? Yeah, philosophy. They've removed cards from the card deck. So it's not accurate. It's only accurate to the degree that we give our power to them. I know that is very progressive information. So it's just, it's an old 3rd dimensional toolkit that does not have the same validity in 5th dimensional frequency. It's not vibing in harmony with 5D. It can help you to 4D, but after that it's not going to take you further. Not really. Only to the point that you hook into it. Similar like with astrology. Even though I love astrology and it's real and it's valid and I use it, if it's being worked on from a 3rd dimensional consciousness or a 4th dimensional consciousness, it's too limiting. So everything in 5D is all new. And the only thing that's really here is what we take in with us and what we create and or recreate. So this is what I mean, because I can see your eyes, you're like, what? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? But it's like, this is a whole new reality. And all the toolkits of what we use to navigate our way, all the new ways of discerning our reality, making sense of things, finding our own way of right and wrong from a whole different perspective. In other words, it's not a judgment right or wrong, it's like what's right for me. How do I align with my highest trajectory, my highest path, that kind of thing. It's an all new toolkit here. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All based on consciousness and energetics, but not based on any of the old 3rd dimensional paradigm that got us to this point. So if we bring it in with us, especially if we're hooked into some old 3rd dimensional belief systems, it's going to somehow, some way let us down, or I realize what I'm saying is really pushing the limits of what we know.
Create expectation.
Yes, or false expectations, or we'll run into limitations. For example, I'll give you an example with astrology. Let me just see if I can ask for one, because I know that will provide a good example.
Does that include oracle cards too?
No, because oracle card decks are different.
Yes, they are.
They're based on the consciousness of the creator who created them, and that person's consciousness, wherever they're vibrating and whatever they're bringing forward, can easily be brought in from higher consciousness. Is anyone familiar with Aleister Crowley? Do you know his tarot card deck? Do you know who Aleister Crowley is?
No.
So Aleister Crowley is the grandfather of the late Barbara Bush Sr. Aleister Crowley is the person who, I'm going a little off tangent here, but that's what these kinds of environments are for. Aleister Crowley, I don't even like saying his name, honestly. That dude is so dark. Did you ever see the movie Rosemary's Baby?
Yes.
Okay, that movie was made based on Aleister Crowley's work. So he's actually trying to create a devil baby. And that lineage, this is not a political comment.
No.
No.
That lineage is very dark.
Yeah.
Very dark agenda. Crimes against humanity is putting it lightly. So he played with all that dark stuff, and his agenda was to really keep humanity in the dark ages. And it's not just him, but he's just one person. So he screwed with all the tarot card decks. Because he really was working with devil worship, Satan worship, and all that kind of stuff. And of course it's not known. This is not known. This is not commonly known.
How about Doreen Virtue?
I mean, even just that energy was, I could feel it. It's just like so dense, heavy, just to even say his name. Sorry?
How about Doreen Virtue?
Yeah, Doreen Virtue is a different story, right? I can only mostly comment, and because she's a public figure, I'll go here, because I wouldn't do it if she wasn't a public figure. You know, public figures are kind of in another domain where they're there for us to learn from, and my sense with her is that she's working on some of her own karma from another reality where she was really sabotaged. And so she had to kind of face that. But yeah, she was working with, in a way, with her own decks, but that whole thing is hooked into, okay, I know I'm going again off on a little on a limb here, but hooked into all that old Louise Hay stuff. And after Louise Hay crossed over, a lot of the purity of that work has been sabotaged, manipulated, and has a lot of, I wouldn't go so far as to use the word black magic, but I would use the word magic designed to coerce, manipulate, could get you to buy. And so as long as someone's using the energies for deliberate coercion, it's based in third dimensional frequency, even if there's some information in there that's potentially valuable, okay, right? We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we have to have our eyes open. So my sense is that she got affected by a lot of that too. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm asking because of her oracle cards.
Right.
I said I'm using tarot cards, but I never used them. I only used her cards. I was buying crystals and her cards fell into my basket. So I didn't want to buy them. I was like, no.
Well, I mean, if you're familiar with Doreen Virtue these days, she's sort of denouncing all of her other work, and Hay House has basically dropped her as an author. This has been going on for at least 2 years now, so that's what I'm saying. I still have a lot of her decks. I mean, some of my lightworker friends are like, throw out everything from Hay House. It's all cursed. That's extreme. I'm not a throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of person, but we're all waking up. Shadow aspects are being exposed of everything that's anchored here. And the more we're willing to know the truth and use our own discernment, the more we're going to discover this kinds of stuff. And that is the whole point. Fifth dimension is all brand new. Doesn't mean you can't use an oracle card. It just means you have to use a whole new level of discernment of what tools you use and how you play with them. You have to learn all kinds of new discernment, including especially what's right for me, because what's right for me or you might be different from what's right for someone else, of course, right? It's how it serves you. And of course, some things, I mean, I used to play with tarot card decks a lot. Now my friends are like, get rid of those. They're all black magic. Okay, well, I mean, when I muscle test them, they really aren't very good. And when I ask my own higher guidance, I'm like, I get it's an old tool, don't use it anymore. But for some people, they still love them. Okay.
Wouldn't that be the more, the verbiage, it's just a different energy, not so much black magic, because it's just.
No, black magic is deliberate sabotage to do harm.
I get that.
Using frequencies that are malevolent and harmful intent. That's black magic. And that has been done to tarot card decks. And that has been done even to a lot of astrology. For example, some of the planets have been black magicked, right? Saturn, Venus.
Not Venus, no.
Yes, Venus to manipulate experiences into perversity and overindulgence. So that stuff has been very cleared out by lightworkers because the planets are still here.
Yeah.
And lightworkers, I myself included, have worked very diligently to clear out the black magic on the planetary influences because they are pure. The planets are conscious beings. Just like if we were one way in 3D, I mean, if you looked at my 18-year-old version, a totally different person than who I am now. I cleared out a lot of those old things. You know, and my third dimensional consciousness is not who I resonate as anymore, but it's still part of my history. Same for a planetary body. These planetary bodies are conscious of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fifth dimensional frequencies and beyond, they're living beings of love and service, contribution to the greater good of humanity. They are not harmful. But that does not mean that they were not affected by malevolent forces seeking to cause harm, who knew there was power and that they could affect humanity for harmful intent. Does this make sense? Okay, I see your face. Tell me what. Confused? We don't have to go down that road today because it's probably more than we're ready to handle in this room at this point. But the one thing I do want to say about all that stuff is it's never about fear. For me, it's never about fear. I'm a truther. I like to explore higher truths because to me, ultimately, you can't really get through this shadow stuff, all of this heavy stuff of 3D that's kind of kept us entrapped, unless we're willing to expose what's been hidden under the covers. And so I was never afraid to look at those things, good, bad, ugly, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, because I just wanted to find my way to the clearest light I could. And that meant I was going to have to look under a lot of beds, under a lot of carpets, and a lot of dark corners, closets and things. So that's how I've come to know these things, but they're not things we need to get hung up on, because the truth is, the purpose of ascension is to come into alignment, not to get trapped in fear.
No.
There are lots of light workers who have been doing amazing, light workers, grid workers, gatekeepers, wayshowers, change agents, starseeds, whether you know those terminologies or not, who have been doing work for the planetary consciousness to get humanity to this point. People had no idea about this stuff, and the bulk of that's been cleared. None of that stuff can hurt you anymore. I promise you. Promise you is not the right word, but I can promise you it can't hurt you anymore. That's why it can be exposed now. It doesn't have any power anymore. The only power it'll have is if you let it get you afraid, which is not the purpose here, right? The purpose here is for us to become conscious and to say, oh, it really doesn't have any power anymore. It's been cleared out. All of that. Even the black magic influence on Saturn, on Venus, it does not exist anymore. That's been cleared out. Even the harmful, detrimental effects of tarot cards, it really is cleared out. It's just that it's not an effective tool. That was the purpose of that conversation. Now, you can still use it if you want, and other people will really disagree with me. Tarot card readers will disagree with me. They love it. And that's okay, if it's working for them. Make sense? Yeah.
I just want to say, because I'm a reader, and I started with tarot. However, there came a point where my guide said, nope, you don't need them.
Yes. You liberate. You move to a higher consciousness. You don't need them. They're too small. They're too
Sometimes it's
limited.
your way in, or
Yes.
as you start remembering who you are,
Yeah.
then you graduate to
Yes.
other tools.
Exactly. There's no wrongness about them. It's just, this is what I'm sharing tonight. You get to make choices for you. Ultimately, you will find, I believe everyone finds that as the more we come into resonance with Source and alignment with Source, old tools are too limiting and too small. And they just don't serve us anymore. They just will limit us. Now, but if you're not at that frequency yet, that tool is still gonna help, and there's no wrongness with that.
So what tools are you gonna share at the event?
Well, I mean, the kinds of tools that I'm working with are all primarily based fifth dimensional reality. Otherwise, there's a couple tools like Akashic Records I still work with. Some people over here say even the Akashic Records aren't relevant, and I agree, but these are still a very powerful tool from my perspective because they store up everything that's ever existed. But once you're really here and you're in total oneness, divine source love, what do you need? You don't. All you need is your alignment. But we're not. Most of humanity's not there yet. In fact, in my experience, what I found is that people tend to either overestimate or underestimate their gifts. They overestimate if they hang out with a lot of people in 3D. They think they're more advanced because they're using comparison unconsciously. And so they go out in the world and they're interacting with people who are in 3D, and so they think that they're really advanced. Or you have people who are kind of underestimating themselves, and that's because they hang out with people who are more advanced than them. Right? I mean, it's just that's what we do. We don't mean to. We're trying to learn not to compare. Compare is despair. But that's what we do. How can you, that's 3D. How can you know you're a man if you don't have a woman? How can you know if you're white if you don't know what black is? I mean, that's just 3D. It's all about separation, comparison. This is a tree, this is a flower. There's a difference. Over here, we stopped doing that. But nonetheless, we're shifting. And along the journey, we're comparing, right? So people either overestimate their abilities, and from what I've observed, because they're comparing themselves to people who are not as far along as they are. I get this a lot. People will come to me and they're like, oh, I'm so far along, and I think, I can feel their vibration, I can see their field, and I think they're not as far along as they think they are. Or else people, I've always been a person who underestimated my gifts. And I overestimated the gifts of the people around me. It took me a long time to realize these people are not resonating in my field. This is developing discernment. I just couldn't tell. I was projecting just like we all do. I was projecting who I was onto them, thinking they were greater. And of course, if they're sitting there saying, I'm so great, I'm so good, I'm so advanced, maybe not those exact words, but you understand, people do that. Oh, I'm such a good healer, oh, I'm such a this. I'm just believing them, and I'm coming from my perspective, projecting that onto them. That's what I'm seeing, and after a while, I was like, that's not where they're really at. They're just hanging out with a lot of wounded people around them. That's what they perceive themselves then, because they're putting themselves, does this make sense?
Yes.
Ultimately, it's not about comparison. It's about finding what's right for us. So when you ask me what kind of tools, it's really about tools of 5D. Finding what's right for you, resonating in a whole new way, learning a whole new kind of toolkit. Make sense? So, but since you asked about tools, one of my favorite tools is crystals. So I will love to invite you also to the crystal journey, which we do it's the weekend after Labor Day. We go to Arkansas. We do crystal digs. We learn to work with the crystals. If you haven't watched go to YouTube and look up my video on the crystal consciousness, the crystal grids. It's really good, very advanced information. And we work with the crystals, we communicate, we learn to communicate with the crystals, heal with the crystals. We have a great time. It's really fun. It's very social. So if you'd like, please pick up a flyer for that and join us. Yeah, because the crystals are basically time capsules from the future to help us awaken during this time. Yeah? They're not inanimate, unconscious things.
What about animals? Are you bringing that back in? Or they're-
Oh, I bring the animals into everything I do.
They're okay, they're different levels too.
Well, first of all, as it relates to the Crystal Quest, we can bring our animals, by the way. Animals are welcome as long as they're well behaved, because they can't be disruptive to the group. But the animal kingdom is consciously awakening just as we are. The only difference with the animal kingdom, the non-human animals, is that they've actually been more awake than us all along.
Oh, yeah.
Where we judged by comparison that we were more advanced than them. What we're coming into realization as we wake up is like, oh shit, they knew that all along. Like, oh, they've already got that down. Oh, they're showing me how to do that. Oh, they've been doing this for humanity. Whales and dolphins cleaning the waters. And and elephants working with Mother Earth to lift her frequency. So that's the whole new game plan there, right? It's like, oh, suddenly these animals are just so much more conscious and aware than us. Like, we didn't know it. Make sense? But yes, they're awakening in a similar fashion because part of what's happening is as we're awakening these dormant parts of us, they have dormant parts too that are coming more fully online as well. So, make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, so the other thing too, we'll do this at the end after the meditation, but we do pass a basket for donations, even though this is a gifted event, and if you can't give, that's okay. But if you do give, we really appreciate it because it helps Unity Church. I personally don't take a profit. I just only take expenses associated with making this happen, putting this on. So it's really all donation to help support rent and allow the event to continue to go. So we appreciate that. And after we're done, we'll have Jessica pass the basket. But okay, so other than that, anyone else want to ask any questions before we do a meditation with the healing? Or you can also bring up whatever's going on for you that you want.
I have two questions. One is, you mentioned before starseeds and all the, how do you know where you belong?
Yeah.
How do you discover that? How do you find out if you are this kind of healer or that kind of, like,
Yes.
how do you know that?
So, first, let me say this. If I know most of you are probably in my community on my newsletter list, yeah? But if you're not, first you want to give Jessica your name and email. And only give it to us if you want to stay connected, but this is why. There's a brand new, I just put it up there within like the last week or two, ebook and class that it's really good basics. What is a starseed? How do you know if you are one? What's a lightworker? What's a wayshower? What's a change agent? What's indigo family races? It'll help you understand all this terminology in the ebook and the class. It's on my website. Even if you just go to lorispagna.com/starseed, you'll be able to get it. But if you make sure we have your email address, you'll also have it. So get with Jessica. Just make sure I can read it, because if I can't read it, you're not going to hear from me. That's how you'll know. And I mean, I appreciate it because that helps me to stay in touch with you too, and stay connected. Let you know when we're doing this again, etc. But that said, look, what we have is on planet Earth is you have a whole tribe, an umbrella of what we call indigo family races. So the indigo family races are beings who know ourselves as part of what we might call planetary liberation movement or the ascension process, here to help humans awaken. And if you are in those indigo tribes, you usually know it, especially for the most part by 2012, starseeds, not all of us, but the bulk of us were awakened. And there are many still waking up. And you will know if you resonate with it, when you hear what they are, what we do, because many are still waking up. And if you are one, you'll know, because you'll hear it and you'll be like, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. Oh my God, this is me. That's what happens to people. They hear it and they're like, I never knew that. When I started realizing it, I mean, this was 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I was like, I just couldn't believe that I was like reading about this and nobody ever defined me like that so clearly. I was just, So that's what happens when you learn what they are. Starseeds are typically beings who identify, I call myself a braided starseed, which means my human self who's lived here all along is completely braided in with the star being that I know I am too, which is a being from the stars, who embodied here like a seed in a physical form, and just like a seed gets planted and it spends maybe months and months underground, you don't even know it's there, and then all of a sudden one spring it just pops up and is like, yeah, here I am. That's what seeds are, star seeds. They're just dormant, and then something awakens and they come online. That's what happened for me in a sense. But that's how I define myself, a braided starseed. Other people define themselves differently. But a starseed is someone who's a being from the stars, really, literally, understanding ourselves as from the benevolent star nations, here to help humanity awaken. Because you understand, in this third dimensional reality, humanity has been sabotaged by malevolent forces the malevolent forces aren't external to us, they're aspect of source too. That's just the game they were playing in that reality. The game was, this is going to be a fear-based reality where everybody has to be unconscious and afraid. So some have to keep those controlled, dominated, and manipulated, unconscious and afraid. So that reality has been very sabotaged. And so the breaking free process needed some beings who weren't necessarily entirely unconscious in there, or were unconscious to some degree and then were programmed to wake up. Does this make sense? So that's like starseeds, but you've got change agents are everyday people. Usually they're working more with the third dimensional reality to make change. They're building anyone here a mom or a parent? Okay, so they're creating new schooling systems, homeschooling, new ways, they're changing the schooling system, they're changing the institutions, the medical institution. They're saying this old system's not going to work anymore. Those are change agents. They're not fighting against the old system, they're just creating something new, way better. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, we're not even interested in that. Let's just create something better. Let's just get our community, our tribe together, birth something brand new. That's change agents. Wayshowers, we're all wayshowers. All of us in this room are wayshowers. We are waking up and we're helping others. We're saying, hey, this is the way. Come or don't come, but this is the way. That's a wayshower. Everyday people. Lightworkers are people who are, I always say lightworkers are the whole group of, everyone's a lightworker if they choose to be a lightworker. A lightworker is someone who's in service to the light, in service to the divine, however we do that. Some of us are healers, some of us are readers, some of us are intuitives, energy workers, animal communicators, some of us are astrologers. But the issue of a light worker is your truth that you want to serve the light. And in this sense we mean goodness, love, peace, joy, that which we deem to be benevolent, or we experience as benevolence, service and contribution, right? That's a light worker. Light worker could just be someone opening the door and sharing happiness and joy. Light worker can be someone with a true mission to guard the realm, right? Then you have gatekeepers. So gatekeepers are really people who know our power and say that, whatever that is not allowed here. No, not okay. Not letting that through. In other words, a really good example of a gatekeeper, and being told don't go there because that's going to raise other issues, so I won't go there. But a gatekeeper is a being who's really connected to higher realms, who understands that in the non-physical world there's interference, and in that non-physical world we can say, no, that just does not pass. That's not part of our new reality. So for example, the future for humanity does not include illness or suffering, sickness or disease, does not include all kinds of things that are just normal over here. And a gatekeeper is a conscious being in physical form who says those things cannot come in here. They can't interfere. They can't affect our future. They're gatekeepers. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have grid workers. Grid workers are people who literally work with the grids of the earth. So when we go to Arkansas, we are doing grid work. We do grid work. I teach grid work there. And it's a kind of an elementary level of grid work, but if people want to go deeper, they have access to me to learn more. But grid work is people who are actively working with the grids of the earth, the ley lines and the energy frequencies of the earth to really elevate and expand consciousness. Because you understand what fracking is? Do you guys know what fracking is?
Yeah.
Fracking is over here the way to upset the grids. That's the purpose. It's not about gas. That's just a lie. And we understand 5G over here. 5G is a way to upset the energetic balance of Earth. Right? This keeps people locked into this old reality. Make sense? But grid workers understand that fracking cannot upset the grids that we make because it's a whole different frequency. It's impossible. So I could spend hours just on this, but hopefully that's helpful. But you'll get a lot more in the book and the class.
Can I ask you just quickly, who and why would anyone want to frack to disturb the grid lines and then same with the 5G. I don't understand that anymore. Who, though, like what?
Well, that question is like, we could spend hours to answer it. We could spend weeks and months. People go to expos and things to explore that. But for simplicity, we could call it malevolent beings who have ill intention to control, dominate, and manipulate humanity, and to keep people entrapped in this old reality based on unconsciousness for the purposes of control and domination, really partially for the purposes of survival. Because you understand, some of these malevolent beings actually feed off of the energy of pain and suffering. It's hard to believe that.
Yeah.
So they need to create that, and also because the frequency that they exist on, the vibrational frequency, is so dense that they need to maintain that frequency to live. So they perpetuate pain, suffering, and they have to keep, in order to survive. What they don't realize is they can up-level here too. Everyone's accepted here. But you just have to be resonating wholly and complete with peace and love and harm to none.
And I'll be very brief. When you just explained that, it made me think of the school system. I started working in the school system, and let me tell you, it's exactly what you're talking about, the control. It is not about educating these
That's
kids
right.
to be real human beings. It's about there being little, like little robots. And it's
Right.
shove, shove, shove. It's so horrible.
Mhm.
There's no humanity in it. It's like insulting, and it kills the spirit. It's just so hideous, and it goes under the guise of, we're all one, and everyone deserves the same, blah, blah. No, that's a crock. I'm going to tell you, instead of teaching everybody as they are, there's like 5 different ways. You all have to learn the damn side right ways, like no individuality. So now rather than struggle with one way, we just struggle with 5 ways, and none of which works for you.
Right.
And then every test the kid takes, you got to test until you want to drop it. And I'm serious. They could take 7 tests in a row because they have to go from the very beginning till they collapse.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, that's that's the old system, you see. And I would recommend you guys go to my YouTube and watch the recent video I just put up there on the wall, Trump's wall. But understand, all of the systems have been controlled by this old faction, the same faction that's connected to the Bush family, Bush-Clinton crime family. But they're so small, they're nothing. It's what we would call malevolent. We could call it a negative alien agenda. But it's the old systems of the third dimension, and they're all crumbling. What happens when a million, this is a joke I was given by my higher realms, and I've never said it out loud, so they told me to say it, and I don't know how it's going to come out. What happens when 1 million lightworkers unplug from the old system? The government shuts down. That's the first time I told it. I swear my consciousness said to tell it, my higher consciousness. But that is what happens. So, and then I do these healing calls with just a very small group of really super high light workers, and we were told, okay, you kind of have to flow some energy there because now it's starting to be harmful to people that it's shut down because so many light workers have extracted their energy from these old systems. So the very next we did that, we just flowed some energy so that there would be no harm. We don't control it, we just let Source do what it needs to do because it needed some life force for people. And the next day, the government reopened. So, I mean, it's the same thing, like I just recently had to open a bank account and I was sitting in Chase and I was like, what am I doing in here? This is like Bilderberg territory. This is like global, like what am I in this bank for? But I was told, just flow the energy. Just flow energy. No attachment.
I'm the change agent. So, and thank you for bringing the school. Right?
Yeah, I mean, this is all of the old systems are collapsing, but at the same time, we don't, as a society, know how to function without them. So we have to sort of take what works and let go of what's not. And it's sometimes graceful, and other times it's just not. And we're navigating our way through this, but we can see it's changing on all of humanity.
Yeah, I was a teacher for 23 years. And I had to take early retirement because I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
You know, anytime being a change agent, I tried to be,
Yeah.
but it just, and I would not send, and I would advise this, never send your child to public school.
Yeah.
I mean, or even private for that matter.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
awful.
this is a whole conversation we could go down,
Yeah.
and it's a worthy conversation.
It almost destroyed me,
Yeah.
you know,
Sorry.
psychically
Yeah.
and spiritually and every other way.
Yeah.
You should see the pills I'm taking now
Oh,
because
yeah.
of it.
I get
It's
it.
just, every way I tried to do, I was shut down,
Yeah.
shut down.
But
And
there's a
it's
better
awful.
journey for you, so you know sometimes when the doors are closing here, it's because you're meant to go in a
Yeah,
different direction.
yeah, so it's probably
You're gonna
good
do,
that I had
you're
to
gonna do much better.
did an
There's-
early
I can see
retirement.
it.
Yes.
You have a much healthier path ahead of you.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah, I can see it.
thank you.
So with ease and grace.
Yes,
Yes.
put that away.
But I get it, so, you know, we're not meant to like fight the system. We just, either we're meant to be there so we can help flow energy or help facilitate a new system to be birthed of it, or we're meant to step out of it. That's not where we're meant to be. And that's for all of us to discern, right? What's right and where we're called to and where we're motivated, inspired, divinely guided. Because everybody, this is one of the big things, everybody, every one of us is holding keys within us, keys and codes and consciousness that are the gifts for our humanity. We are the solutions. We've heard that a million times. We're the ones we've been waiting for. It's really true. And our job is just to find where we're meant to be, where it feels good, right, uplifting, inspiring, and how we will facilitate our contribution, right, to the evolution of humanity. This is where we find our value, our worth. I mean, I'm up here because I love this. I love doing this. This is what I love to do. I love sharing consciousness. I love being a translator for the divine in the non-physical world. I love it. So I know this is like where I'm meant to be. But if I'm doing something I didn't love, you know, for those of you who have heard my story, I mean, I was on pharmaceutical drugs like this. I was in corporate America for 20 years, smoking 2 packs a day, you know, drinking beers every night, pounding the coffee all day, couldn't wake up, couldn't get to sleep, hair falling out, thyroid's off, you know. I was so unhappy, I was so overweight, just stressed out all the time, wasn't enjoying my life. I mean, every day was like, is this it? And it took my brother's death to wake me up. You know, he was my angel. He was my wake-up call. You know, you better get out, otherwise this is where you're going. And that was my trigger. So, you know, you know, if you're not happy or fulfilled in your life, or if you're not healthy or well, it's because you're not rightly aligned. Everything is vibrational alignment. Everything is coming into your own inner harmony with your own self, and as you do, everything gets better. Everything opens up. It's not overnight. It's not a pill. It's a process. But really, we all come into resonance with our highest and best version of ourselves. Okay, someone else had something?
This might be kind of basic, but I struggle with the idea of the soul, an individual soul having kind of like an agenda for that person, contracts, all that stuff, but then sometimes it results in the human suffering, maybe getting killed or something. So I kind of grapple with that, and then part B is like, well, free will, where does that come in?
Mm-hmm.
So I struggle with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just say with the soul having an agenda, that is true. Souls have agendas. So the soul of each of us has an agenda for how it wants to evolve, or what it wants to clear or resolve or navigate or do differently or learn from or evolve out of or evolve into. And that's our own journey. Because the soul is basically got a mission. And we're like the ego, not fully conscious of that mission, trying to kind of figure it out, right? What's that?
Or in agreement with it.
Right, we're not necessarily even in a, totally getting with you. We're not always in agreement. If I had my way, believe me, I would have had a lot of different experiences, and there's a lot of things I wouldn't have gone through. Although now I can see how they've served me, and I can be grateful, but still I'm like, I'm never choosing that again. Done.
Done.
done with that, never choosing that again, right? Okay, but that's because my soul had an agenda that I wasn't always in agreement with. I have these dowser friends who I love them so much. It's a married couple, and I'd go to them, this was years ago, and I'd be like, I hate that bitch, that soul. And they'd be like, you realize you're hating yourself? I'd be like, I fucking hate that bitch. She made me go through, he. But that was because I was out of resonance. I was so in resistance to my own path. As I came into more resonance and more alignment with my path, I could see the gifts. There was less, there was more grace, there was more ease, there was more flow. And I started to get the gifts that I was meant to get, which are, you know, I mean, how do you sit up in front of an audience and say you're a spiritual teacher, a channel, if you really can't access that divine in a pure way, truly being of service here? Right? You have to go through all kinds of challenges. So this was my mission, to eventually be able to offer this, but if I hadn't gone through those certain challenges, I'd never really be able to offer that, right? Even though I was in resistance along the way. So that's just an example. But yes, so we go to our readers, our healers, our guides to try to help us find our way. And there's certain sacred rituals we can do, and certainly asking for clarity and consciousness, and guide me to my soul's highest and best, the highest and best for me, my life, my body, my being, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, so we know that happens. And for some beings, maybe their soul's agenda is just simply to come in for like 10 minutes to just work through one thing and then leave the body. And we may be here judging that as wrong or bad, like a preemie or something, who knows, or a child who, dies at a young age, for example, or an animal who gets just run over or something. We don't necessarily understand what that soul's agenda was. And we might be in resistance or judgment, or we get into our sadness or our grief, which is another form of resistance and judgment. But we don't know what that soul's agenda was, right? That happens. That does happen. So it helps to even just to understand it like that, from that perspective, right? But the other part you brought up was free will. Where does free will come in? So free will is a really interesting conversation, because it depends at the frequency that you resonate with of what your truth will be. So if you're let's say lower, I'm being corrected. Fourth dimensional, third dimensional, you absolutely have a free will. And there's a law, a universal law of free will, known as the law of intent, consent, and authority, that actually you can call upon, because it stands there and guards your free will. So if you say something like, this experience right here is against my free will. Now, you may have some kind of soul agenda, soul contract, that's an aspect of free will too, but it's an aspect of not the ego free will, the soul free will, which also has a say. So it might not be eliminated just because you say that's against my free will. However, if it's not entangled with other things, and you say that experience right there, that's against my free will, and you're neutral, you're not entangled with it in some way, law of free will actually can eliminate it for you. You're not even necessarily conscious of it. Does this make sense?
Well, it does, but like, just to be concrete, let's take a child who's abused, right? The child didn't choose that, but the soul did, for whatever reason. But the child is being abused, maybe tortured, who knows?
Right, well, that's not the free will aspect so much. What that is that's what the soul's agenda is. The soul has an agenda that may be for that child to work through certain issues, or to teach the family that's abusing the child, or to help the child make peace with something that it didn't make peace, or to help the child liberate itself from victimhood. I mean, a gazillion things. The soul wants for the child to not be a victim. The soul wants for the child to resolve these issues of trauma. The soul, whatever it is. But that soul makes that agreement with the laws on the sixth dimensional plane. Laws of the universe are engaged, and also on the sixth dimensional is Akashic records and other benevolent beings. So they might make that agreement with karmic contracts, with their lords of karma who are just holding it in place. It's all written in. That exists on a sixth dimensional plane of existence. So the law of free will is going to uphold it. because it's all written in there. Now, as the soul goes through it, the soul resolves things, works through things, it gets cleared at this plane. They come into resonance with their journey, it's resolved. Now they can create something new. Does this make sense?
Yes.
But you as a free will being, existing, whether you're in third dimensional or navigating fourth dimensional, you have a free will. You can say, I choose this, I don't choose this. Same way, if your soul has an agreement to work through cancer or some disease or health challenges or whatever, that's going to play a role because your soul made certain choices, and that exists and is being anchored in on a sixth dimensional existence. But nonetheless, you have free will along the path. I'm going to go down this road, I'm going to go down that road, I'm going to go to that healer, I'm not going to go. This is my greatest challenge for me as a healer, as a light worker. I know people every day I meet people who tell me, oh, I got this problem with my teeth, I got this problem with that, I got problems here. And I'm like, can you just do my stuff? I don't mean to be arrogant, but I just know I have the solutions for you. And then they don't show up. Free event, they don't show up. I think classes, workshops, they don't buy, they don't come, they don't participate. Why? Why would somebody not get some sort of help that they need when it's right here? That's my personal challenge and struggle. But it's because their soul is, whatever, making choices, or they're navigating through their own unconscious, we call unconscious blocks, even though we're never really blocked. Because we're always source, having the experience. Belief systems, all of that, absolutely. So this is just what the soul's agenda is, to find their way home. Sometimes the soul's like, giving them the red carpet, rolling it out. Here, free, show up tonight, you'll get it. And they say no. That's just part of the agenda. That's part of all that. Free will choice is playing in there too, because the ego says, no, I don't want it. Even eventually they're going to find themselves on the knees where they're like, I got to get some help because the pain has gotten too overwhelming. And they finally make a new choice. But that's the choice part. Make sense? Now, ultimately, when you pass through 5D, you start giving up your free will in a whole nother way. Why?
Because you're making the choice that you want the light to guide you.
Yes. You relinquish your will to the will of the divine. What is the will of the divine? Let the will of the divine come through me. Let my will be thy will. But over here, it's all free will. You have a lot more. And if you want to get past the sixth-dimensional reality, which I go way past there, the more we wake up, the more we can get past to higher frequencies, you have to work entirely with the laws. That's not my will. That's the laws of the universe. It's not my ego. I cannot. They won't even interact with us if we're not developed at certain virtues that would bring us into alignment with them. Does this make sense? It's a whole knotted ball, but we're unraveling it. All right. All right, so we'll do one more question, and then we'll do the healing,
Okay.
go into the healing.
I will try to be very brief, but throughout many years in my life, I have been really confused about what is my true call. I went through a lot of spiritual process since I was very small. I mean, probably 6-7 years old. I started to feel like being called, and now I realize what I feel in resonance with what you all have been sharing, because it's like things don't have a meaning anymore for me, and I don't really believe in a lot of systems. But however, I feel at lost. Because I don't know what is my mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, in a way, I lost passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the middle of nowhere, just being like, doing things in every day, but especially since I came to live in the Miami area. Before I was working and I had a lot of things to do, and probably here I wonder if maybe it's because I need to awaken more, but I still feel I'm lost. I don't know what's my mission.
Yeah. Well, getting lost is the first step to finding yourself. So
You
it's
know,
not a bad
6
thing.
years or 7 years.
All right, but it takes us time. Well, let me say this, everyone on planet Earth right now, regardless of whether they know it or not, shares a mission. And then we have our submissions, our sub-missions. So the one mission we absolutely have, and it's the first mission, and it's every soul has it, and that's to awaken. And what does awaken mean? Come into the realization, not just through the left brain, because you can't, that's called spiritual bypassing, if you just learn, but you don't embody. It's the full remembering, the embodiment. This is the awakening, the resonance, whole body and being, vibrational aspect, that we are each the divine. However we refer to that, you could say God embodied. Creator embodied, however, source embodied. I don't like to use some of the same old words from the old reality, but you know, God is a word for that. That is we are aspect of that, and that we have all those gifts within us as we come into resonance with it and as we awaken to it. And certainly those gifts are vibrationally compatible, right? That's the first mission. Everybody has it. And what happens is we're usually not everybody, and it's certainly not universally true, but we can be a little lost on the way until we anchor into that. And that anchor is within us. It's within the heart. It's the vibratory state that unfolds from us. So we can sometimes feel lost on our mission until we find that first, because that's the first mission. But it first, not in terms of beginning, primary is a better way to say, primary mission. So, but as you come into resonance with that, and as you awaken that from within you, more of your inner joy, happiness, and desire to serve and contribute to the greater good of others, including yourself, with harm to none, especially yourself, or including yourself. What's going to happen is your mission's going to be more revealed to you, because it's going to come through what you love and what excites you. And right now, partially because of what you've gone through, but partially because of this feeling of being lost, because you're right now, your primary mission is what you're rediscovering. You're awakening. As you anchor into that, as you awaken more of this dormant, and by the way, it's all stored in the DNA. We didn't talk much about the DNA tonight, but if you heard me at the expo, if you've heard any of my stuff, if you listen to my YouTubes, you know I talk about the DNA all the time. It's all stored in the DNA. So as you start to activate the DNA, it's awakened from in you. That's when you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then you meet the next person. You're like, oh, we're going to do this together. Oh, let's make this happen. Or this is so exciting. And sometimes you walk down some roads where you're like, not doing that again. That's okay. Or I've done enough of that. Ready to move on. But nonetheless, you're doing your thing. You're loving it. Right? That happens naturally because it's in you. But the primary mission is to start awakening and aligning. And my sense is that that's what you're doing now. And that's why you feel lost, because your human egoic self, which that's just our personality self, right, is a little lost. Because the soul hasn't fully taken the reins. It's taken the reins, but you haven't fully given them over. That's why all that self-love, self-care for you, for all of us, is so important. Because that's what happens as we give the reins to our own inner source. It takes over. But this is not an analytical thing. This is a vibrational thing. It's a vibrational thing. I'm excited about that. I'm inspired about that. That feels so good. Oh, that feels bad. Okay, no judgment, moving around. Oh, that feels liberating. That feels uplifting. That feels exciting. That feels inspiring. And you rediscover passions you never even knew you had. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Can you please ask just one?
Well, I was going to go here first and then I'll come back.
This is just a yes or no. So what you just said now, that made me think of the saying that I've heard from Deepak Chopra. It says something to the effect of there's something more important than following your bliss. That seems to be what you're saying, because if you're following your bliss, then you're going to be who you are meant to be.
Yes, I do agree with that. I just think the challenge with statements like that is that it sort of puts it in the minds of people like anything that's shadowy or dark you should resist or pretend doesn't exist. And I completely disagree with that. This is the challenge with the law of attraction movement. It's a dead end. Because it's like follow your bliss, follow your bliss, follow your bliss, but pretend everything shadowy doesn't exist. I'm not saying that's what he's saying. I'm saying sometimes that statement implies that.
Yeah, well, I'm.
But I am agreeing, absolutely, follow your bliss.
Well, see, you gave meaning to what he said, which, because I watch, I have this music station on television, Soundscapes, and so you see all these little quotes, and I always said, oh, that's nice, la, la, la. But what you said changed the whole thing, because I always thought, okay, follow my bliss, so, yeah, let me just lay back and eat my nails all day and sit in the sun.
Yeah.
That's not it.
No.
What you just said is. So now it made that pop into my mind and have meaning. Now I get it.
Yeah,
Now
oh
think.
good, I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I mean, I do, absolutely, follow your bliss. Just don't pretend that the things that aren't blissful are insignificant. And at the same time, don't give significance to things that aren't blissful, significance that's not significant.
Right.
In other words, follow your bliss, and if something there is a black, roadblock in front of you, that's a big, weight upon you, don't pretend it's not there. Be like, okay, let's get this weight off me. Let's go to a healer. Let's tune in, or let's do a prayer. Or let's find some solution here. Let's go for a walk. Let's meditate on it. What is it? And don't get weighed down by it, and don't ignore it, and then refollow your bliss. Yes. Because on the journey to bliss, it's not all blissful. You know what I mean? Okay.
So, again, similar to her question about being confused, what is our mission? Like how can we follow our guides and be sure that it's coming from our guides?
Yeah.
Because in last, let's say, a year and a half, when I was here for the first time, I took Reiki 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, so many things started to open for me.
Yes, Reiki does that. That's how I started.
A lot of things happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would go to meditate and my hands were moving in meditation. And first time when it happened, I got scared. I was like, oh my God, who moved my hand? And
Yeah.
next time I turned on my video and I was recording myself meditating. And it's funny, like I'm sitting there with closed eyes and my hand is doing something, and I let it do. But I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah.
So I still have that confusion.
Well, you need to develop that, right? And I mean, a lot of people are just waking up to their own higher guidance. And I mean, that's, I used to teach a psychic development class. I don't really teach it anymore. Now, I mostly work on ascension and lightwork. But that's something we would do easily on a retreat. Because it's not a 5-minute thing, how to follow your guides. Your guides are... There's all kinds of guides, there's all kinds of beings. Part of navigating this new reality is knowing which ones are steering you correctly and which ones might be misaligning you, because they exist. 4D has everything. Grand Central Station, you get on the wrong train. Even if you end up in, bumfuck Idaho, you can get on another train and go back. You're not going to get so steered off as you're finding your way, but it's possible. So learning what guides are really there for you, how to follow and align with the highest guidance that serves you in the highest and best ways is part of the journey. I will tell you, just by asking only those who serve me in the highest and best ways are permitted here by divine decree. Just even saying that would be helpful to you.
I always do that, but again, like I said, this was happening, then something else was happening.
Right.
And
Yeah, because you're waking up,
I
Reiki
still don't
does that.
understand why my hands were moving. What was I doing? Something else happened.
Energy.
And I went to something else, and then something else, and else, and I came to the point where I'm exhausted. I'm asking questions, but I don't hear answers.
You need more training.
I hear them, but who said it?
Right.
Sometimes it's so simple, but I expect to be more
Yeah.
to write a book, to hear the voice that
It always starts simple. If it's good, it'll start simple most of the time. Because, you're building a relationship with the non-physical. You have to develop your relationship with your own higher guidance and start to learn and discern by working. So it starts simple. You're building a relationship. It's not like you go out and you meet somebody, you don't become best friends and get married overnight. You basically say, let's court for a while, let's get to know each other. So you're learning a new system, working with the non-physical. It's not something you can learn overnight. This is why it's good to get yourself involved in circles like this. That's why I recommend the sacred journeys because you get more guidance and support in larger groups for a long time. It's not a 5-minute answer. But again, always asking that only those that serve, support, and assist you in the highest and best ways that align you with your highest and best trajectory. That's one, by saying that those are the only ones I want. I mean, I have fired guides. People think that's crazy. I have fired guides that have given me bad guidance. And I'd say, whoever gave me that guidance, sometimes I didn't know, sometimes I did, you're not welcome here again. Go away. I do not need any bad guidance. Just don't need it. Now, sometimes I was right about that, sometimes I was wrong, sometimes I misunderstood, but that's just part of the journey of learning. That's one thing. The other thing is you can ask, who's this coming from? Identify yourself. You can ask. As you do, if they're not benevolent, they typically will go away the moment you ask them to identify. But see, again, I would encourage you to take more classes on this and get involved with, yes, groups like this, because that's where you're going to develop it over time.
What classes would you recommend?
Well, like I said, I recommend those 2 retreats, and I definitely recommend coming here, because we're learning here. For me, what I teach, I don't really teach the psychic development anymore, and I just taught my last animal communication class. I'm not going to teach that again, because but those are good classes to learn in, psychic development classes. A really good one is the Akashic Records. I teach the Akashic Records. I love it. It's very popular here in Florida. I think you have to pick your teachers well. Don't just sign up for a class because, especially with the records, it's kind of like the largest card catalog in the world, and if you think you just only know how to use the card and you don't understand all the other things in the library, you're going to miss a lot. It will never harm you. It'll always just give more, but pick your teachers wisely. But I would recommend that's a good one. Psychic development classes. I do a lot of online stuff. Most of my classes are online, and if you're in my community, like I just did one on time, I thought it was a great class, very advanced. I think my content is very advanced, much more progressive I've found than what else is out there. I got bored after a while. In fact, I got kicked out of my Akashic Records class at one point, and that's when I realized, she said, you need to go teach yourself. Stop trying to teach my class. And that's how I started teaching animal communication too, because I was doing animal communication for a lot of years. And then I finally was like, I think I'll take a class so I can learn how to teach it. And when I took the class, I thought, I could teach this so much better. You just got to play with it. Expose yourself, and use your sense of what feels good, right, and opening you up. Okay, but for now, so we're going to do this meditation part. So if you're in it, you're in it. Please, please, for this, let's turn off the phones, because it's so disturbing to people if they're getting a download. We'll be here for at least a good solid half an hour. You're not floating anywhere. You're not sharing energy. Everything, you'll be fully conscious, but you'll just be in a very peaceful, kind of blissful type of state. I'll lead you in the meditation. But if there's anything you hear that you don't like, you just say no thank you. You will hear me say for your highest and best over and over again. So everything's only for your highest and best with harm to none. Is there anything else I need to say? Oh, and you'll hear me make some funny noises, because a lot of times I do. And when I make funny noises, it's more because we're just clearing massive amounts of dense energy very quickly, and I can't really handle it, so it just has to move, and that source works through me. Okay, so if your phones are off, set your intention now. Let's everybody set our group intention that everybody will receive the maximum benefits which serve you and serve our group and the collective in the highest and best, most benevolent ways with harm to none. Can we agree?
Yes.
Yes. We're unified in our collective agreement. So I'm going to just start with this for just a few moments. I'll say a prayer. I probably will maybe say it quietly. However it comes through. It's always the divine. And just start breathing and relaxing. I'll lead you through the meditation anyhow, so it's fine. divine source, creator God of all that is, highest, clearest, purest, original source of consciousness. Coming into alignment here now with this divine source. Breathing the source in, respectfully requesting, respectfully commanding the source consciousness coming forward here now, awakening from within and around us in service to the light, the source within each and every one of us, for the highest and best of all beings and with harm to none. We ask, choose, desire, and intend that all beings are served in the highest and best and most benevolent ways possible. And again, with harm to none, we give thanks for all we're about to receive. We give thanks and we let it be. Now, as you're breathing, what I'd like you to do is to start to relax your body wherever you need to. You're sitting upright, you're conscious, and start to connect with the breath as it comes in through the nose. Long, slow, deep breaths. And you just connect with your own natural breathing process. But you're allowing this breath to come in through the nose. You're letting your eyes close whenever it feels good and right to you. And you start to feel this breath with your mind and with your body. You feel it coming in through your nose. You feel it going to the center of your brain, waking up your pineal gland and pituitary gland. You feel the breath as it travels into your throat. You breathe bigger, fuller, deeper, slower, longer, and you let it travel down from the throat into the heart center. You feel this breath start to expand through all your chest, your lungs, expanding around you. You feel this breath deeper, fuller, longer, slower, go into the belly. Feel your body come into any kind of comfortability, alignment, whatever you need. It's okay to move. Whatever you need to do to relax, to rest, to stretch, and then breathe deeper, fuller, longer, slower. Bigger breaths. And let the breath now be a breath of love. That actually what you're breathing in is love. And just as before, you can feel this love traveling through your breathing apparatus. Now it goes from the belly, just wherever you notice it, right? I'm leading you, but you're breathing at your own comfortable pace. And from the belly goes down into the reproductive. And from the reproductive goes into the buttocks. And just whatever feels good and right to you, you take another breath whenever it's right. And now you feel this breath of love vibrating through you. You can feel it. And just as you breathe this love in, expand it all around every cell of your body. Whatever part of your body needs some love, breathe it there. Any nook, any cranny, any energy space, any tension, any tightness, let the breath of this love travel there. You just keep on breathing comfortably, deep, long, slow, comfortable breaths of love. And you can also breathe in the energy of peace, of course. You just breathe it in and let it filter through your entire body. The circulatory system moves it through all the cells, everywhere. And on the next deep, full breath, envision and or sense and or see or feel a crystal, like a crystal, pure, perfect crystal. Now, if you don't have an energy idea of what a crystal is, that's fine. You can see, sense, feel the sun, the light of the sun. And you're breathing this time from the top of your brain. And you're letting it travel into your brain just like a crystal drops into your brain, and just like a pebble in a pond, it ripples around you. You're breathing love. This crystal is expanding in every direction from the top of your brain. And now this crystal drops down into the center of your brain. You're still breathing love, breathing peace. And this crystal, just like a pebble in a pond, ripples out around you. And the love and peace that you're breathing is rippling out around you too, just like the crystal, opening up the energy centers. And then let that crystal drop, another deep breath from the center of the brain now into the throat, breathing in love and peace. And this throat expands, this crystal expands every direction around you, love and peace. The energy centers are opening and at the same time expanding around you. And now with another deep, full, long, slow breath, the crystal drops down into the heart center. And like a ripple, expands around you. And now long, slow, deep breath of love and peace. The crystal drops even deeper into the belly center. And the love and peace expands around you. The crystalline light, the sunlight expands around you, rippling around you in every direction. Another deep, long, full breath, and the crystal drops into the reproductive center. Anything that needs to relax, let it relax. And this crystal makes a ripple effect around you in every direction, the love, the peace expanding around you. And now this crystal drops into the buttocks area. Another deep, long, slow breath, and it expands in every direction around you. You're encircled in this love and this peace. And now this crystal drops through the buttocks area, through the floor beneath us, and it's reaching down into the layers of earth, and it's grounding you, connecting you into the crystalline core of Mother Earth, where all the crystals are. Just grounding you into the earth. You're not floating anywhere, you're not going anywhere. You're just resonating with these frequencies of love and peace. And you just continue to breathe in a comfortable, rhythmic way, long, deep, slow love and peace. That's simple. Now let's ask Source. I'm just going to get quiet for a moment while you're breathing and ask where it would like to begin. And you'll be able to ask for whatever you want as well. We'll start with the guidance from Source. For the collective here and now, in this now moment, all beings involved, with your consent, shall receive the healing at this moment. The resonance of peace and love and joy that you're bringing in, that you're resonating with now, shall be more fully, wholly, and completely embodied within you. As you release and surrender to the divine here now, the energies, frequencies, and vibrations which you've been holding on associated with density, the shadow, the sadness, the grief, the regret, the remorse, the sorrow. Recognize here and now that as the divine is here with you now, embodied here now in each and every one of you, resonating and surrounding you, there is no combination of these energies that will be shed or released onto another. Simply identified from within and around you, lifted, removed, dissolved, and taken away, and transmuted back into divine source, that you never again need to anchor into these energies and or replay them. They're only being removed from your field of energy and transmuted, that you're done and complete with them. Only as serves your highest and best, and with harm to none, and only as is uniquely appropriate to you, your body, your life, your living. With your consent, breathe, receive, and allow. So this is just a clearing of some of the density we've been carrying, right? Just helping us to elevate. There we go, nice. And you're just noticing. You just keep breathing in love and peace. And then you notice whatever you notice. Let me get out of the way here. Good to go. Whoa. Spirit, Dr. Team, Benevolent Galactic Shaman stepping forward as well to assist here now, banishing all spirits, deactivating the life force, scrambling the frequencies, neutralizing the energy of non-beneficial and or non-benevolent, the both, spirits and harmful entities, etc., which have been holding you back and or draining your energy and or lowering your frequency. Many of you are unconscious of these still non-benevolent figures and or non-benevolent forces draining your energy. It's as if you've become accustomed to them. It is their time to be removed. With your consent, we take them away, transmute them back to the light to be forever transformed. With your consent, and as always, only as is for your highest and best, and with harm to none, other than these non-beneficial beings, which are only looking to find their way home to source as well in any case. Allow, and so it shall be done. You're just noticing. Remembering that nothing will be brought to you that's non-beneficial. Only that which is non-beneficial will be taken from you. Yes. And you just notice whatever you notice, because even if you're kind of noticing nothing, that's fine, right? You might not be aware of it. It's okay. Okay, instilling a new anchor point within each and every being based on your request. For this particular one, Metatron stepping forward as well, and Michael. For benevolent angels, angelic beings. Actually, one of them is Ascended Master. Michael, Michael, thank you. Metatron, Melchizedek, and Merlin. Ascended Masters as well. So in any case, here to facilitate. Thank you. We're going to standing by. They're coming forward next. Thank you. So, sorry, that was a slight distraction for me. I apologize. I'll come back. Okay, good. Thank you. A new anchor point within your heart center. Thank you. This is Source. If you're dropping down, please allow yourself to drop down into your heart center. Now, how do you do this? Get out of the brain. Feel as if every part of your consciousness is dropping into the depth of your own heart. The deepest part of your heart. Even as you hear my voice, as you sense things, just drop into your heart. Any part of you that's so fully aware or still aware of any other aspect of you, just drop into the heart. It's where you exist. It's where you reside. And this divine source is going to reignite and realign you with the center of the core of your being and the truth of the divine love within you and the divine unlimited omnipresent source within you, within your heart center. So keep dropping into your heart center and allow this alignment to be instilled within you, awakened from within you, the true anchor point, the true nodal point, your core center of your being, the core of your consciousness here. Dropping into the heart, allowing Source to bring you into alignment with your true anchor, your true core. You say yes, please. You drop deeper into the heart. Yes. And you're going to take 3 deep, pure breaths. This is the words. The breath of divine love. Deep, long, pure breath, divine love. Deep, long, pure breath of primal love. This is the original love. Original love, it's the primal love, the original source of love. You just drop down into the heart center. And lining up your heart center, your true node of your core being with the center of Mother Earth, 5th dimensional Gaia, pure divine Mother Earth, lining you up. This is rebalancing you with the new 5th dimensional reality and beyond. Rebalancing, restabilizing your energy field. This is what's happening. Another deep, pure breath, primal love, divine love. Original source love. Drop deeper into the heart. And now, realigning you with the center of the earth, center of your heart center, your core center, and center of the Milky Way, the galaxy. And center of the universe. Just breathe it. Source is lining you up. And so are you. So you're coming into your true core, your true center, your true alignment here. Center of the earth, center of your heart, center of your being, center of the galaxy, the Milky Way, center of the universe, and now center of the omniverse. You are the center of all that is. Center of the omniverse. Just breathe and drop into your heart. This is where all your true potency lies, your true consciousness lies within you. And now from within you, awaken the divine, even greater, even more fuller, even more holy. With your consent, breathe fully, deeply, pure love, and drop into the heart center. Nice, good. Good. Okay, we're going to do requests for healing, clearing, or whatever it is you want. So this is where you can just briefly open your eyes. You can ask, just raise your hand or ask, make a request. Yes.
I've recently developed gout.
Gout. Let's ask. So you're breathing and receiving, and I'm tuning in. What would it like? The sacred symbology of the energy of gout often refers to that part of you that has become so dense, particularly in the lower extremities, that has become stubborn, and or unwilling to move. In your particular case, for this particular issue, it's linked into a belief system, a thought process of needing to become immobilized in order to free and liberate yourself from another experience that's been unpleasant and undesirable from you. Therefore, the unconscious aspect of you is believing and or perceiving that this gout is a requirement for, we shall use the word escape from another aspect of your life which is non-desirable, undesirable for your way of living. So on an unconscious level, you've been using this not as an excuse, but rather as an opportunity to free yourself and liberate yourself. Now what we would like to provide to you with your consent is the awareness that the gout is not a necessary, is an unnecessary requirement, therefore not a requirement at all, for you to elevate yourself out of your prior experience that you know you up until here now believed and or perceived that there was no other way out. Is this making sense to you?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so now that this has been explained, new opportunities will now be revealed and provided to you. New opportunities, new pathways that allow you to free and liberate yourself from the gout, that give you permission to move with free flow, to move in your life with a kind of circulation that feels good and right to you. Now, this same kind of consciousness will be provided to each being, absent of the issue of gout. In other words, that which is uniquely appropriate to each individual regarding freely circulating in your life, regarding being free and liberated to move about your life in ways that feel good and right to you, to create your life in a conscious way, free from the requirement of sickness and or illness to do so. Is this making sense to each being? Only as is appropriate to you, the greater gifts of consciousness will now be provided to you. The gifts of those consciousness will come to you with and from divine source consciousness, divine source truth, and divine source point of view, perspective, understanding, and definition, and bring you into alignment with that divine source regarding your unique life and life path, whatever that may be, as is uniquely appropriate for you, your life you're living, and only as is for your highest and best. With your consent now, please breathe, receive, consent, and allow. Now for the gentleman who specifically identified the gout, please know that what's happening here is an expansion of your consciousness, true for everyone, but for you particularly related to the gout, so that you no longer need to have this. A lifting, a freeing, a liberating from the old paradigm, where this was true, real, and right, a realignment with a new frequency and vibration where something, many things, have opportunity to change and shift your reality so that you can have a whole new experience. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Again, for all beings concerned with harm to none, allow it to be so as is uniquely appropriate for you, your body, your being, and only that which serves, supports, and assists you in the highest and best. Deep, long, slow breath now. New resonance coming in. New expanded consciousness awakening. You let yourself just notice whatever you notice. You're being conscious as you're receiving and allowing, not expecting anything in particular in the moment. Rather than having any particular attachment, just simply letting the divine do its work, knowing that this is where the healing begins, not where it ends. Yes. There we go, just a little more here. Nice. A little more. Nice. There we go. Good. Fully integrating. This is a big one. The reason it's a big one is because you've got a lot of other things hooked in there for that particular one. So there's other aspects that still need to be addressed, but this will certainly help. Does this make sense? Does that bring some clarity already to a certain degree?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, good. But that just started. All right, we're going to go on. Who else? I'll go here.
Brain fog.
Brain fog. Okay, there's guidance for you on a physical, I'm going to quick muscle test for your body and being just to double check. Yes, ginkgo biloba. Are you familiar with this product? Have you taken it? Okay, good. Why did that come in then? Perhaps a little higher dosage of it? Are you taking 1 or 2 capsules a day?
Off and on.
They're saying 2 capsules a day. Good. Okay, I'm coming back to the brain fog. Okay. For this divine one here now, understand that regarding the brain fog, the experience of brain fog is more related to the aspect of your consciousness that's recognizing what's not there rather than what's calling in what is available to you. At this time, the experience of brain fog is an indication that something old, generally denser, is leaving your consciousness, yet you have not fully claimed that which is available, awakening from within your consciousness. Allow the frequencies of your consciousness to unlock while allowing them to awaken, much like a flower blooming within your own brain consciousness. For there is no fog in your consciousness. There's simply a space where old density released. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. They're going to anchor this for you more fully. Now, at the same time, for every being, they're going to do a pineal, I'm saying there, it's source. Going to do a pineal pituitary gland. I haven't forgotten these 4 M's. They're still hanging out here. They're going to do a pineal pituitary gland activation for everybody. What they're saying, though, it's about harnessing the power of your inner knowing and not giving power to the idea that you're foggy. Also asking for more clarity. Also have the consciousness of planet Neptune coming in that's saying your astrological alignment is an indication as well. Neptune is creating an experience that seems hazy and foggy. Trust and allow that higher guidance is doing its best to make its way into your consciousness more fully, wholly, and completely. While this may not be an overnight process for you, it will be a process that evolves you into more clarity with divine time. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yes, good. Let's just bring this consciousness, the gifts of this consciousness to you as is appropriate for you, your body, your being. And also then we do a pineal pituitary for everybody. Now for each being who's ever felt and or experienced some degree or another of lack of clarity, fogginess, a sense of unknowing, uncertainty, unclarity, all of that, let's have Divine Source take it away and bring to you the clarity of wisdom that is within you and the clarity of consciousness that exists within you and that is always available to you. The unlimited resource of clarity that is always available to you and is always accessible from within you. With your consciousness, give your consent as always, only as is for your highest and best, with harm to none, and only as is uniquely appropriate for you, your body, your life, your living. With your consent, breathe and allow. Yes. Yeah, now you just notice, you may feel actually even a little pressure in the brain area with this for some of you because it's awakening and opening something. Some of you also may feel more lightheaded, even more, and that's okay too. Just allow. My throat always makes noises when this happens. Here we go. Thank you. And there's a lot of angelics here. Many of them hang in this room all the time anyway. Okay, we're going to go into pineal pituitary. So in the center of your brain exists often referred to a third eye. This is the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. It's not really the center of your brain. It's the center rear area of the back of the brain. And this area has been lying dormant in most of humans. And many of the foods we eat, drink, foods and drink, we imbibe, calcify. And often this creates blockage in the brain area, uncertainty and lack of clarity. And if it's expanded greatly, it often can create an opposing effect of feeling brain fog or spacey. The idea is to bring it into a kind of perfection, open and at the same time aligned, anchored within you. This activation will allow and assist you with that. With your consent, this time what you'd like to do, Archangel Michael stepping forward to assist here now. We have the 4 M's, Metatron, Michael, Merlin, who's the Ascended Master really, and Melchizedek. Mostly standing by, primarily Michael here. What you want to do is breathe in some beautiful purpley violet. And you see, sense, feel this violet as if you're breathing it straight through your brain. Like through the center of the eyebrows. Just breathe in some beautiful violet. Breathe it in through your brain and let it go to the back of your brain. Now you can't do it wrong. Don't worry that you're doing it wrong. Just allow yourself to imagine that you're doing it right. To breathe in violet straight to the back of your brain and let it go right into the center back of the brain where those exist. There's no way to do this wrong. Archangel Michael, essentially working with each and every one of you individually with your consent to assist and facilitate in this. And you're breathing and allowing. Straight back to the center of the brain. And you notice what you notice. And you're probably going to feel either some pressure or even certainly some heat. There we go. And you may even feel like tingling in the brain. Some of you will feel that. And if you get a bit of a headache tonight, don't worry, right? It's because this happened. Just drink a lot of water. And you may practice at home, even going home and before you sleep tonight. When you go to sleep, in the last moments, just closing your eyes and looking in the darkness under your eyelids, and you'll notice more light, luminescence, very likely. Images or luminescence, nothing harmful, just the awakening. Okay, for you who requested with the brain fog, one other piece of guidance. Whenever you can, whenever you remember, especially in the shower, call forth your consciousness into your body. Just bringing, anchoring in more fully, wholly into the body. This will assist you in feeling more anchored into your body. You've been kind of floating. And as you do so, calling home into you, that which is you, this will help. Does this make sense? Good. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on. Yes?
Procrastination.
Okay. It's an easy one. All right. All energies, frequencies, vibrations of procrastination. All beliefs, belief systems, points of view, perspectives, ideologies, programs, implants, explants, entanglements and snarlements having to do with procrastination. Everywhere you created it, everywhere you participated in it, everywhere you allowed it, consented to it, played with it, every aspect of procrastination which is no longer serving you shall now be identified, lifted, removed, dissolved. For anyone who would like this, as is uniquely appropriate, consent and allow as well, only as is for your highest and best, uniquely appropriate, divine source, lifting, removing, dissolving, will replace with something else. I get to go. I get to go. Sorry. I say sorry, but it's just energy, right? You get to go. I get to go. Okay. Replacing it with effortless, conscious creation. The desire and will to effortlessly, consciously create, co-create, and move forward in your life in ways that feel good and right to you. The natural desire to create a more fulfilling life. The natural desire to consciously take appropriate action. The natural will and desire to take appropriate action for your highest and best. The optimistic, glad expectation at the results of your natural effortless labor.